If you are a current or aspiring instructional designer, then you should have a really clear understanding of which types of problems instructional designers can solve. So let's dive into it. Okay, so before we dive into it, if you're up for a challenge, try pausing this video right now and explaining in one sentence what types of problems instructional designers can solve. So pause the video if you're up for the challenge, but if not, we'll dive right into it. It's actually quite simple. Instructional designers solve gaps in skill or knowledge, okay? These are the types of problems that learning solutions can solve. All right, so imagine we have a person right here. They have a certain amount of knowledge and skill around a subject matter. We need them to be more skilled and more knowledgeable. So an instructional designer's job is to bridge that gap with learning solutions and whatever tools and strategies they have in their instructional design toolkit, so to speak. So again, it's simple. What is the point of learning? The point of learning is to teach people new things, whether that is information or new skills. So in a nutshell, that's what an instructional designer can solve. Now, instructional designers can help change people's attitudes as well. So you might see this, knowledge, skill, and attitude. In most cases, a marketing team is going to do a better job at changing people's attitudes than an instructional design team will, but there are some instructional designers who are really good at this, and there are certain instructional design tactics you can use to change people's attitudes and make people feel more motivated. A lot of good instructional designers will kind of bake this into their solution already. So as people are learning the new knowledge and skills, it will also change their attitudes about a topic. But if you are more interested in this concept, just leave a comment and maybe I'll do a whole video about how we can change attitudes with instructional design. But let's get back into it. So in an organizational context, we don't just want people to learn for the sake of learning. We don't just want to we don't want to bridge any arbitrary knowledge and skill gaps. We want to solve organizational performance problems. So we want our employees to do specific tasks better so that it can produce results for the organization, whether that's better customer satisfaction, better sales numbers, lower turnover so that people stay in the role longer. These are all the business results that organizations would likely be concerned with. Now, like we discussed earlier, we would only use instructional design, or we would only design a learning solution to solve a knowledge, skill, or attitude problem. So if you want to bring your instructional design skill set to the next level, you should kind of hone your performance consulting skill set so that you can determine what's causing the problem. If you're familiar with the ADDIE model of instructional design, this is that analysis. So this is that A. What are we doing to analyze the problem? Because again, we might want these people to be performing a specific way, but the problem might not be caused by a lack of skill or knowledge. These employees might know exactly what they need to do and they might know how to do it, but the problem might be that there's a larger cultural issue that's putting pressure on them not to do it. And that problem would need to be addressed differently than assigning these employees a learning solution. So there are many different environmental factors that could cause people from not performing as they need to. And no matter how much training you throw at that issue or at those employees, that might not solve the real problem if the problem isn't caused by a lack of skill or knowledge. So this is where a performance consulting skill set comes in. If you are new to performance consulting or conducting needs assessments and doing this upfront analysis, I highly recommend that you check out action mapping. It's a very approachable way to get into performance consulting, and I actually have a video about that, which I will link below and in a card in the top right. And I did a question and answer session with Kathy Moore herself. She's the woman who created action mapping and wrote a really solid book called Map It that I suggest you check out after checking out these videos if you want to dive deeper. So again, in an organizational context, instructional designers are not just solving gaps in knowledge and skill, they're also analyzing the performance problem itself to determine if a gap in knowledge or skill is causing that performance problem, right? So it's kind of like a popular analogy is a doctor. You know, doctors know how to heal people, but you need to diagnose the issue before you can prescribe a solution. So same thing with instructional designers. We don't need to just know how to design this solution. We also need to know how to analyze the problem to determine if our solution will help solve it. If you want any more clarity around that, drop a comment, but I think that's become pretty clear. So let's talk about the current problem. This is a problem permeating organizations, big and small. If you've been in the field for any amount of time, you've recognized this problem. Instructional designers are mostly just expected to churn out courses and content. Okay, so someone will come to you, your manager, your supervisor, someone else in the organization, and they'll say, we need a training on X topic. You know, we need you to create this training. And 99% of the time, instructional designers comply and they just go right into build mode and they build that project. Okay, so again, the problem here is we're not really connecting this to what the audience actually needs to perform better or what we actually need to do to help the business produce results. So if we're just churning out that content without determining whether or not that content will actually help our audience or help the business, we're not going to be producing very much value either in our audience's lives or in the business. So it's kind of this tricky cycle where we think that making this content will help, but since we're not doing that upfront analysis, it's not going to help very much. So let's talk about the solution. What do we do to solve this? Well, the first thing you can do is to develop your performance consulting skill set. Again, the most approachable route into this is with Kathy Moore's action mapping. I will link those videos. If you have 20 minutes or so, check out spend some time looking into this, because I feel like once you hear from Kathy Moore and once you learn more about this process, you're going to be hooked and you're not going to want to do anything else. But at the same time, this like most problems, this is not just a knowledge and skill problem on the side of instructional designers. You can be a very, very skilled performance consultant, but you're facing some cultural issues that are bigger than yourself, where even these multi-billion-dollar organizations, the biggest orgs, they still just want courses to be churned out to check boxes and say, yeah, we have training on that, even though the people taking them are just kind of clicking through them and suffering through them, essentially trying to get through it as quickly as possible without learning anything. So that's why I have here, we need to take baby steps towards learning more about what the audience needs and producing real results. This is going to include a lot of tough conversations with important stakeholders, and it's not going to change overnight if you're on a team where you're producing very information heavy work. Again, a good option is to introduce people to action mapping, try to focus more on business results, and try to get a direct line with the audience, with the people you are serving, because it's not often enough are learning teams really listening to the people that they're serving and taking it from them. What can we do to help you do your job better, essentially? What kind of knowledge and skill gaps are you suffering with the most? So that is all I have for you today. If you're taking away anything from this video, please let it be that you should check out that action mapping video and start thinking about how you can apply action mapping in your instructional design role. If you aren't in the field yet and you're just trying to learn more about what an instructional designer does, check out my full guide to becoming an instructional designer, which I will also link. And just keep this in mind, if you can talk about this kind of stuff on interviews or with other people in the field, it's definitely going to set you apart from someone who views an instructional designer as just like a content creator who sits in Storyline and churns out fancy PowerPoints all day, because that's not what this role is about, despite what most people might be doing in their day jobs these days. So I love talking about this. Feel free to drop comments. If this video did help you, please like it and subscribe for more content like this to come. So thanks for making it to the end of the video, and I will see you in the next one.